Hey, it's CDA and welcome to episode 19 of the Super Proliferation run. And as you can see from all the spaceships flying around, we've gotten quite far into the game by now. We've colonized several systems, but we're nowhere near done yet because we have our project to work on. We want 30 rockets per second. And in order to do that, today we are going to take the next big step in finalizing the first of 3 resources we need in order to do so. We are going to build our quantum chips. Now, we had a pretty big step towards that already in the previous episode where we built all the Casimir crystals that we need in order to actually build the quantum chips. So that was a quite important step towards that build, but we are going to finish that. And in order to do so, we found ourselves a nice little planet where we actually have nothing going on whatsoever. I have to say this is probably the most boring planet we have in our entire galaxy. There's no rare resources whatsoever. It's the only planet in the entire system. But it does have a convenient location compared to our other systems. If I zoom out a little bit and I can find the other systems, there you go. So you can see it's sort of centrally located to the systems that we already have colonized. We also have quite a few other systems around it. So I figured, why not make this the central planet where we make our big hub, where we make our big build basically. And ideally, I do want to have all the final components for the rockets assembled on this planet, so we can also actually make the rockets on this planet. Hopefully that will all fit, but in order to make sure it hopefully does, I picked a planet by choice that had nothing important on it, so we can basically just pave over it entirely if we want. The other reason I selected this planet is because it has a pretty decent solar energy ratio. It's not anything special, but at least it's above 100%, so we can make the most use out of that. So yeah, that is the reason I picked this system. Now we are going to rename this system, of course, to the name of one of my most loyal commenters, and that is going to be Delroy Clark. I hope I spelled that correctly. There we go. And yeah, thank you Delroy for leaving all kinds of encouraging comments on a lot of my videos. It's really appreciated. It's a way to help the channel out, so yeah, thank you for that. So we are now on Delroy Clark 1, and the one and only in this case, because we only have one planet. Now I'm gonna set a few things up on this planet, and then we're gonna get started with our build. Okay, consider our planet all set up. We have our polar hub, we have a lot of solar panels, we are producing around 1.3 gigawatts worth of energy on our planet. I actually divided the planet up a little bit so that we can easily see where we are and what we're doing. So yeah, nothing special, just a lot of solar panels and easy access to all that power anywhere on our planet. Now, what are we going to do? We are going to be making quantum chips, and in order to make quantum chips, we are going to have to do some math. Luckily for you, I already did all of that math, and I'm not sure why I'm pressing on all these weird buttons, because I want to go to this menu. There we go, quantum chips. We are going to need 48 quantum chips per second in order to make those 30 rockets per second. So 48, it doesn't sound like a lot, it is, because we are going to need a lot of resources to get those processors. As you can see, we need twice that amount of processors, and we're going to need twice that amount of plane filters. And especially the plane filters are going to be the annoying part, mostly because they are very slow to produce. Luckily, we have fixed the Casimir crystals, so that is a huge chunk out of our problem already, but we have to do everything else as well. So 48 per second, that's quite a large number. If we would want to make that into one single build, not only would it be a very inconveniently large build, we would also struggle with things like getting enough ILSs to actually get all our resources to that build. So we would need several ILSs to do so, most likely, in order to make sure that's stable. And if we're placing down several ILSs anyway, we might as well split up the build. Second reason we might want to split up the build is because if we have so much resources on our belts, we'll have to use stackers pretty much throughout our entire build. That's going to be really inconvenient. It's going to look really ugly. I don't like ugly, and I like being efficient. So I am actually scaling down the build a little bit and then just build that several times in order to get to where we want it to be. So what we're going to do is we are going to make not 48 per second, but we're going to make a build for 12 per second and then build that 4 times, and then we have exactly 48 per second. Now, there's another reason I want a build for 12 per second, and that's pretty much the end game goal here, but just getting ahead of ourselves. But I do want to explain why I'm making a build for 12 per second. It's because of the green science. So as you can see, we need quantum chips for green science as well, and for every quantum chip we put in, we get 2 green science out. So if we have a build that makes 12 per second, we get 24 green science per second. But we're proliferating this, so that's 25% additional science, which means we will actually have 12 times 2 times 1.25 is 30 green science per second from one of those builds, assuming of course we also have the lenses to supply. Now the awesome thing about that is that you have a quantum chip build that's not only useful for your rockets, but will also be very key to getting your first full belt of white science. How awesome is that? So let's jump to that. And as always, I am just building this along with you guys. So if I change something halfway through, that is because you're watching me actually make the actual build. So we are going to start out with some quantum chips, and let's check out the recipe. Let's leave ourselves a little bit more room than that. We might want to place an ILS here. Let me turn off the blinking lights so you don't go crazy after watching that for 20 minutes. There we go. Okay, so where are you? Quantum chips over here. We only need 2 inputs, so that is very straightforward and very convenient. We are going to need 40 of those, so let's make a nice little row of... we could actually make 2 rows or not. Well, no, let's actually just make a single row. So let's see, this is 4, 6, 8, 10, and then let's copy paste that real quick, and let's make 2 of those. Actually, let's make sure I get the belts right, because I always mess that up for some reason. There we go. That's 1, and that's 2, and then let's make this little build. This that is 10 more, and then we have another 10. Let's make sure we get the spacing correct on that. There we go, that looks about right. And then that should be 10, 20, 30, 40. Hopefully I did that math correctly. We can actually check if we do it like this and like this. And yes, that's 40 exactly. I've been known to miscount my amount of assemblers, as you know. So let's make sure that doesn't happen this time around. There we go. So let's leave some room for spray coaters. Let's put down some spray coaters on here. So we have those in here, and then we know we are going to need processors, and we are going to need plane filters. Now I'm actually going to start out with the plane filters because, like I said, these are going to be the most annoying by far. I am actually thinking we should probably make the processors down here somewhere. And yeah, I'm actually going to have to fill this in, I think. Let's hope we have... Oh, we have millions of soil pile. No problem there. Okay, so plane filters. Yes, we are going to need quite a few of those. So let's place down one of those over here. And we might actually want to place that out a little further, because I have a feeling we're going to need that room. And yeah, let's check out the recipe for plane filters. So we remember Casimir crystals, our big friend from previous episode, and then the titanium crystal. So not titanium crystal, titanium glass. So once again, we have 2 inputs. We also have 1 output. So we are going to want to put that on a belt somewhere, but we're also going to do that something like this. Yeah. And then how many of those do we need? Well, once again, I did the math, and we are going to need 124 assemblers making plane filters. Yes, 124. So, how are we going to do that? Let's see. We could make rows of... 124 is actually quite an annoying number, honestly, because it doesn't really divide well by anything. Well, that's not completely true. It does divide by quite a few things, like 4, so we could make rows of 31. It's kind of a awkward number, but I guess that works. 4 rows of 31, maybe. That's huge, but we'll have to work with it. So this is 15. And this is another 15. And then I'm just gonna take the easy route for a moment. Actually, let's put down a belt, because we do want to have an outgoing belt on this side over here. And I'm gonna be a bit sloppy initially, just so I can space things out, and then I'll move something a little bit maybe near the end. If you're making large builds like this, I recommend not putting all the belts and sorters and everything in there before you're actually sure you want to place it right over there, in order to avoid nasty little hiccups in your building process. You might have to do something 2 or 3 times, and that's going to be really inconvenient if you have to backtrack a lot due to that. So this is a total of 120, so we need 4 more. And, well, we can probably actually place that on this side. And then be quite conveniently close already, so we don't have to move this around. There we go. I think that looks pretty neat. There we go. And yeah, I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. I think I feel pretty good about this, so I think we can stick with this for now. We can probably make this a little bit of a flat build, and it will fit quite nicely fit into this place. I'm actually wondering if we... let's look at the lines on the planet here for a moment. Yeah, so that was what I was thinking. We just built over half, so if we can keep it on this half, or this quarter, I should say, of the planet, then by doing so, we can actually make sure that we can place 1 over here, and then 1 on this quarter, and then maybe 1 below and 1 below, and then we have exactly 1/2 of the planet filled, or 1/4 of the planet filled with that, depending on if you count the bottom half or not. But I guess I hope you get what I'm saying here. But I like to make sure we stay within those quarters, which was the whole point of these lines. I should probably have made 1 here as well. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm gonna slightly move things around and readjust and put in some belts, and then let's take a look at how that looks so far. Okay, so I moved up the entire build a little bit, so we are now within the quarter of our planet. So this is actually delineating the meridian. I hope, once again, I should probably look that up at some point, but you can tell me in the comments if it's actually called the meridian. Anyway, the outgoing belts actually go around all the way over here, and then they connect and they go back. This middle belt is actually going in the other direction. I try to have the belts crisscrossing as few times as possible, and this way we don't actually need a single bridge. What we do need is the developers to fix this, but you're probably gonna get bored of me saying that every single episode. Oh wait, what else do we need to do? Well, I built an ILS over here. Why did I build an ILS over here? Because we need Casimir crystal, as you know, and we've been building that in the previous episode, and now we can supply it straight into our system. So that's really nice. But we also are going to need some titanium glass, so we're going to have to build that. And titanium glass, to be honest, is a bit of a pain, because we need 3 different resources, and that means we need to make well, we need to be very careful on how we exactly build that. So once again, I am going to use my famous zigzag, and in order to do that, we have to make sure we plan it out carefully. Now, I think we are just going to start over here, and then we might want to move the ILS at some point to align it a bit better with what we're trying to do, but I'll get to that in a moment. So we are going to build titanium glass over here. We are going to need to build 21. But actually, yeah, so 21. And then we are, this is 15, 16, 18, 21. I'm actually going to take that one out, because we also need to make sure we have room to spray. And then what we're going to do... Did I align this properly? Almost. So we're going to take this one out. We are going to need some water over here. So since we have an ILS close, we might as well put it to use. And we are going to place it over here. I think that should be fine. There we go. That needs to go the other way around. There's an outgoing belt. And then we will have another outgoing belt like this. Should it be the inner belt or the outer belt? Let me think. We are going to make 4 rows. So it's going to be this, and this, this, and then this. So it should actually be the inner belt. There we go. So this is going to be the water belt. And we have 21 over here. And then this is going to go like this. And then all the way back. This is going to go in the other direction. And that's going to go like this. And like this. And then we are going to have to place... I'm gonna finish the belts every now and then off screen, because otherwise you're just gonna watch me build belts for half an hour, which is maybe not the most entertaining things to watch. I think you know by now how to build a belt. What am I doing wrong here with the spacing? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is another 21. Now we're just going to leave a single belt of room in between these. And that's going to go in that direction, I think. And that... Why is this not aligned? Oh, this is why it's not aligned. There we go. And we will finish that in a moment. But what we also need to do is make sure we have our other belts correctly. So we will have... This is a belt going like this. This belt is going in that direction. Now there's a very good chance at some point I'm gonna mess up the direction of my belts. Just wait for me to do that. There we go. And then we need to make sure we have enough room to do the same thing on this side. So 1 belt, 2 belts, 3 belts. That belt is gonna come back. And then we have another 2 belts over here. And then let's be smart and efficient. Whoop. Could be even more efficient if I actually finish that first, but hey. There you go. Oh, well, that's not gonna work. This should work, right? No, no, no. I misclicked that. But thank God for the Control V that has been implemented since a while back. So I can just paste it again. Now, we actually do need an undo button at this point in the game, but hopefully they will add that in some future patch. And now we have not quite what we need just yet. So let's finish this. We are going to need 21 in this row, 21 in the third row, and then only 19 in one of the other rows. So which row is it that we only want 19 in? It doesn't really matter that much. We could also just take out 2 here. Maybe that's actually the answer, because that makes this part a little bit more convenient. So this is 4 rows of 20, which is of course 80 total, and then we have 2 more, so that's 82. Nice. So getting there. The build is actually starting to shape up quite nicely. We're nowhere near done yet, but let's make sure we tidy this up before we move on. And this is starting to look a lot more organized. Now you might have noticed that I miscounted my rows. Because everything is blue in this game, at least a lot of items are, as you can see. Blue, 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 blue. Anyway, I mistook this row for one of the plane filters. So I deleted 1 row at the bottom. I actually copied the wrong row. So yeah, now we actually have exactly 82 of these titanium glass facilities. Now, we also have a nice little zigzag going on. really like how this looks. We also have no spaghetti here because this outgoing belt intersects with this one, and we have all the outgoing belts connected. We have not a single bridge in our game so far. Well, we do have several in our games, but at least not in this build so far. I also like to keep all the spray coaters in one row, so that's why this belt sticks out. And now we actually need to make sure we are supplying that belt with some ore, and sorry, not ore, titanium and glass. In order to do that, we are actually going to need, I think, around 40. It's slightly less than 40, but we have to round up. So it will be exactly 40 titanium and 40 glass facilities. So I also had an idea about how to do that exactly. So I'm to align this, at least the last facility, with this one. And then, no. There, just one lower. There we go. And we are going to place, let's see, 6, 8, 10. And then 6, 8, 10 more. And then this row is going to be a bit more convenient to place down. There we go. And we're going to leave 2 belts of room over here. And then we're going to place another equally large row over here. And the same thing over here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to place another ILS. Let's not copy the other one because that's not going to work. We have the room, so we might as well use it. Is this centered? Good enough. We are going to put some stone and some titanium in here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to have several belts. We're going to have one outgoing belt of... Let me actually check which one is the inside and outside, otherwise I'll have to change up all my memos, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, this should be the titanium. So let's see. We are going to have a belt with titanium over here. And then we are going to have another belt of titanium. Actually, let's not overcomplicate this. One over here. And then stone. Stone. There we go. And then one more stone belt over here. One further, I think, yeah. There we go. And then we'll have an outgoing belt of glass over here. We can connect that one with the other one over there. And then, of course, this is going to be titanium. And by doing it like this, we actually need slightly more than one belt of each resource as in the incoming belt. So by splitting it up like this, we take care of that problem. You don't have to work with stackers, and it doesn't really matter in which direction we place these facilities. So that should work just fine. Now do remember that we still need to proliferate this. We might actually want to consider doing it like this. Slightly dangerous though, given how the clipping works. So let's not do that. Let's play it safe. Because I do want my blueprints to actually work for you. Nothing hurts my feelings more than seeing someone comment, "I tried to use your blueprint and I couldn't place it down." That's just not a good thing to have. Now we might want to proliferate it over here. We'll have to see. So this is going to be the titanium and this is going to be the glass. Once again, let me quickly fix this. Slightly more organized now. Memos on the belts. We have the ILS set up, and yeah, we're getting pretty close to having a half functional build. But we have the other half to fix as well. It's luckily not the most complicated half because all we have left to do is make a lot of processors, and we've done that quite a few times before. So, processors, we are going to need a total of 31 assemblers with processors. So the interesting way in which we can do that is, I was thinking to do it like this. So, this is the one, and then we're going to place down the 30 like this. Or actually, there's something to say for doing it slightly different. So we have a total of 40 over there. So alternatively, what we could do is have the build go something like 15, 16. And then have 2 rows in between. Assuming we start out from the correct one. And there we go. And then like this. So this should be 30. Once again, let's just double check. I don't trust my counting anymore. Yeah, so this is exactly 30 plus 1 is 31. So we are good to go here. Processors, as you probably know, is circuit boards and components. Microcrystalline components, if I'm not mistaken, but who wants to pronounce that 5 times quick in a row? I don't. So this is going to be the processors. And then, if I did my job correctly, we should have enough room to put in some belts in between here. And we do. And that means we can have an outgoing belt like this. Once again, wrap it around. I like how it aligns with this side. And the nice thing about having the room on the inside over here is because this is also where our ILS is. We also want to be proliferating some stuff over here. We are probably, maybe, no, I'm not sure actually where we're going to be proliferating this, but for the moment, let's assume it's over here. Alternatively, we could find another spot. No. Once again, let's not overcomplicate it. We are proliferating things over here. So we can probably say we are going to proliferate on this line as well. And then we are going to have to build components. And components are made from silicon and copper. Quite straightforward. And we are also actually almost going to need an identical amount of these. So what we're going to do is very similar to what we just did. We are going to kind of replicate this build over here. Apologies, my voice is giving out. And then we are going to go over here like this. And of course we do want that last one to fit in there as well. And we are going to have 2 belts in here as well. Let's assume for the moment they go in this direction. And of course these are actually not going to be producing processors, so let's change that before I start being confused. There we go. Then we are going to have another row of those over there. And then we need 33, so there. Well, alternatively we could do that like this. Is this misaligned? It's misaligned, isn't it? Is it misaligned all the way? Oh yeah, it is. Okay, I'm gonna quickly fix the belts and then move everything up 1 single square because this is going to annoy me forever. Okay, so pretty nice and compact, so let's get on with it because we have quite a few more things to build. First of all, we are going to have to build the circuit boards. So let's see, we are going to need iron and copper for that. So let's make sure we have enough of those. So we're going to need a total of 9. What we're going to do is we actually are going to bring in the copper from over here, I think. Because then we can have the copper connect up like this. And then we need to get the silicon from somewhere down here, but we'll fix that in a moment. And by doing it like this, we can actually have the circuit boards go up here like this, all the way up and up there. So that will be just fine. We are proliferating it over here, so we don't need to proliferate it again over here. And we technically also don't need to proliferate the copper, but you know me, since we have these belts here anyway. Well, let's not proliferate this twice in a few moments, but might as well do it like this just in case we have a power outage or something like that. And then we are also going to need iron, and I think we're going to take that from this direction because we are going to need iron production. And if we line it like this, we can... Oh, this looks really nice. Okay, so we can actually fit in 10 over there. And I think that's pretty much perfectly aligned. Yep, with those assemblers. That is really awesome. So we have the incoming belt probably from this direction then. And we can bring the iron from down here. Because remember, we have some slots available. We have iron, and we actually also are going to need some copper, so why not bring that over here as well? Actually, no, let's not do the copper, let's do the silicon first, because we are going to need quite a lot of silicon. And let's align that with this one as well. So what we're going to do is we are going to have 10, 20, and not iron, of course. This is supposed to be silicon. So let's make sure we correct that while we're at it. And then we're going to need another line of those because we need in total 80. And then we're going to need another line of those because this is just 40. And then we're going to need another line. And let's see, we are going to have an incoming belt over here. We are going to have an incoming belt over here. And we are going to have an incoming belt over here. And you might be asking, why do you have 3 incoming belts, TDA? Isn't that a little bit inefficient? No, it's not, because we actually need slightly more than 60 ore per second. So, what just happened to my belt? Create that, please. And because we need slightly more than 60 ore per second, we are actually going to need 3 belts. Because, of course, unless we want to stack those belts up, I don't want to stack those belts up, so yeah, 3 belts. Okay, so now what else do we need to do? We are going to need to stack up this outgoing belt, actually, because there's slightly more than a full belt of output of silicon. And that should be just fine. This connects really weird, but anyway, it works. This is supposed to be the silicon belt, so we're going to make a tiny little hop. So remember, if you build a half bridge and then you just delete it, place the last part of it and you can drop it down, now you have a tiny little hop bridge. It's kind of like belt bending for beginners. I don't actually like belt bending that much. You can do some really crazy stuff with that, so if it's your thing, go ahead. I'm just waiting for them to patch that out and then just break every single build I've made in that game. So I'm a little bit hesitant to do any extreme belt bending, but I think this should probably be fine. Yeah. Now the only thing we are going to need is some copper. And let's see, where are we going to place the copper? I think we're going to place it on this side. We're actually going to need 30 of those. So once again, let's make sure we count that out. And we actually don't have to count because 30 is just doing it like this. The maximum amount of buildings you can build with one drag all the way to the side is exactly 15. So if you need 30, that's just 2 times a maximum amount. So you actually don't have to count that at all. We are also going to need the copper. So let's get some copper from this side. And then take that down like this and all the way through here. Now, how are we actually going to get the copper to our facilities over here? We have the belt over here, so probably all the way around, and then just combine it. So something like this in that direction. Probably do that like this to keep it a little bit more compact. And these are incoming belts from over there. So I'm gonna quickly fix the belt off screen and then see you how I fix that, so you don't have to watch me build them. And this is what that looks like when it's completely done. I also added in the proliferation belts, the foundations, and you might be wondering, why is your factory sitting completely still, TDA? Well, that's because I actually went ahead and just built the other 3 of them as well. And yeah, So that actually took quite a while, not to mention putting in all the foundations. But to be honest, the actual building, even though I had a blueprint for it, took forever, because apparently this blueprint is almost 8,000 pieces. So as you can see, the ones that I built after are still working and still humming away. We have insane amounts of quantum chips now because we don't actually have a use for them just yet. You can see the other facilities working as well. I had an open area here, so I decided just to put in some solar panels. I figured, why not? There wasn't really any way to make the build more square. Well, not without making it a lot more complicated. And I kind of like the layout. Basically, on this half of the build, we are making the processors with all the smelting associated with that as well. And on the other half, we are making the plane filters and everything that goes along with that as well. So, yeah, pretty nice build. And everything that I'm flying past now has been today's build. Yeah, so 48 quantum chips per second. We are actually not having too much trouble actually powering all of this up, so we're good in that regard. Now we have to focus on getting our next few pieces of our rockets together. But that will be the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of modular type of quantum chip build. Basically, it's aimed at the two purposes that I mentioned before. So one, the rockets, but also at the next project that we'll undertake, and that is the white science. So two builds in one. And yeah, really nice build to do. Honestly, I really like how this turned out. It's really nice and organized. A little bit of spaghetti, if you can call it that, in the middle. Kind of like these colors as well. When you look at it, it's kind of like a green rainbow type of thing. Anyway, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you for joining in if you're still here. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.